Hey guys, Zen here, and there are now over 50 unique operators in Rainbow Six Siege. One thing that's crucial to being successful in realizing your full potential as a player is to understand how each of them are used and what role they play on your team, and over time, you'll find the ones that you play with best and ultimately learn to master. Now, along that journey, I found a few operators that I just never pick, and honestly, for some of them, it's not really even their fault. And so in this video, I wanted to share 8 of the operators that I never use in Rainbow Six Siege. So remember to click that red subscribe button, and let's talk about why I never use the 8 operators on this list. Number 1 is Warden. Warden is one of the most interesting operators in Rainbow Six Siege, and I think out of a large amount of them, he has some of the most potential to be great. His main ability is the Glaz glasses, and they enable him to see through smoke and to survive flashes, and the ability itself is obviously very useful, but the execution of it is where my biggest problem is. Warden has to essentially stand still to get the full effect of his gadget, and it makes it incredibly difficult to get a good angle or to get better positioning, because once you move, it disrupts the glasses. Now, on top of this, I think what most people find disappointing about Warden is his loadout. The MPX is the main SMG, and he also has an SMG-12 for a secondary, and on this operator in particular, it just feels super underwhelming. On Valkyrie, the MPX is fine, because she has one of the most productive gadgets on defense with her black eye cams, and Vigil is one of the best fraggers on defense with the K1A, and so the SMG-12 is only really a compliment. But on Warden, an operator who has to basically rely on these weapons because his gadget struggles to be useful, they're just not enough to compete with the others. So what would make me choose him more? Well, if the devs just don't want to budge with his gadget, most likely because of the strength in Pro League, then I'd genuinely give him more time if he had better weapons, or at least a better primary. Based on lore, I know a lot of people want to see Warden with the P90, maybe with an ACOG, but for me, I think he needs something that hits hard, and so the Alda, Maestro's legendary LMG, is on the top of my list. My only other pick would be the AUG A3, the one Kaid has access to, because it's become really popular with the 1.5 and has a much higher damage output than the MPX. Moving on to number 2 is Smoke, and this is a prime example of it not being the fault of the operator. Smoke has always been one of the best operators on defense, and one of the biggest reasons for that is because he specializes in area denial. In ranked, when the diffuser needs to go down and the time is ticking, there really isn't another operator the attackers fear more, because when he uses the gas canisters, there's just nothing you can do about it, and you'll die even attempting to go for a plant. He also has a utility heavy loadout with the shotgun for rotations, the incredible SMG-11, and either barbed wire or deployable shield for secondary gadgets, and so all in all, Smoke is no slouch of a pick. But for me, there's Mute. Now, do Smoke and Mute accomplish the same goal? No, but they do compare in a bunch of other ways, and I think at this point, there is a toss-up between them in a similar way there's a coin flip between Doc and Rook. A few seasons back, Mute received the SMG-11, and it changed everything for him. It of course gave him more fragging potential, but it also opened up more play with the shotgun because he finally had an answer to those medium range gunfights, and so his utility benefit shot way up. Now, Mute also has what I think is the better SMG over Smoke's FMG-9 with the MP5K, and now they both have access to the 1.5 zoom scope, and so again, there's a bit of a toss-up to which you prefer. But where I think Mute just edges out ever so slightly with Smoke is that his gadget is a passive one where you can kind of set it and forget it with the jammers, and Smoke has to be proactive with his gadget, and most importantly, he has to actually stay alive to get their full use. So Mute kind of stole the show for me personally, and I don't think I'll ever look back. Number 3 is Goyo. So Goyo may surprise some of you who watch a ton of Pro League, because he is one of the most utilized operators in the league, and for good reason. His Vulcan shield is area denial, again keeping attackers at bay, and the gadget is basically a modified deployable shield, which is one of the best secondaries on defense, and so there is a lot to work with. My problem with Goyo is how inconsistent the shields can be. Very rarely have I used them exactly how they were designed, and even when I do, it somehow never seems to work out how it should. The Vulcan is a bomb at heart, and so if an attacker stands close to it, it could lead to a kill. But more often than not, the attackers have droned it out and are aware of what they are, and so they aren't ever that close. There's also the fact that a lot of attacker utility can deal with the shields even if they don't know it's a Vulcan, and so even before you get the chance to use it for its functionality, it could already be destroyed, and in the worst case, even used against you. I think the one big redeeming factor for Goyo is his loadout, because the Vector is one of my favorite weapons personally, but you do have to hit headshots to really notice that. And then the TCSG is a good weapon overall, but it can be a bit cumbersome to use. I think there are just better options, frankly, in the area denial space, and Goyo just hasn't ever been able to appeal to me and get that pick. Next up at number 4 is Nokk. Now, one good thing I'll say about Nokk is her ability to cloak from intel. It works well, and even if defenders know she's around, they don't know exactly where she is, and it can lead to outplaying some of the best intel defense has, like Valkyrie or Echo. But similar to Warden, the operator she launched with, I just think she has a major loadout issue, and you never really feel powerful. Her counterpart on defense is Cav, and Cav has the Louisiane, which downs any enemy in 3 shots or less, and it's actually far more consistent. So in a lot of cases, you can trust yourself as Cav. Nokk doesn't carry any special weaponry that helps her stay stealthy and lethal, and so a lot of the times, if you don't surprise the enemy, you end up getting into a gunfight that you'll struggle to win. Also, her stealth isn't as, I guess, stealthy as you'd imagine, because her Hell gadget only reduces her sounds, where Cavs go silent, and so you can never really trust if you're being hurt or not, and for me, I just don't feel confident having that understanding. I actually would play Nokk more if she did go completely silent, or if she had a specialty weapon that could increase her lethality. My suggestion is to give her the MP5 SD, because I think it's just better than the FMG9, even if the numbers don't agree. Number 5 is Montagne. Look, I think shields do have a place in Rainbow Six Siege, and I also believe they can be some of the best operators on a team. But it takes a special somebody to have the discipline and fundamental understanding of a shield's place in Siege, and I am, unfortunately, not the one. Montagne is a beast, and I absolutely love when I have a talented player playing this position in my lineup, but if I'm honest, I never take on this role, because playing Monty is unlike any other operator in Rainbow Six Siege. He's heavy, slow, and is made to take on defenses that the other attackers either don't want to or simply can't, and you want him to stay active the entire round so he can get intel for the team or to get a clutch plan off and then protect it from surrounding defenders. It's a tough job, and so to you Monty mains, I tip my hat and show my respect, but this Frenchman just doesn't suit my playstyle, and so I'll leave it to you. Next at number 6 is Fuze, and to be totally transparent, this wasn't always the case. Prior to Ace, Fuze had the AK-12 all to himself, and every now and again, I'd indulge. His gadget is either great or useless, but he has always been lethal, and so I will give him that credit. But now, Ace has appeared, and he also stole some of that thunder with the AK-12, and so unless you have a specific Fuze strat, or like him with a shield, I just never see him, and I don't play him myself. There are those times where you can pull off a cheeky kill with the cluster charge, but overall, especially in high ranked, people know where and when it's happening, and so they avoid it, and then you're left with a 3-armor operator to finish off the round. Fuze needs a buff, or a rework, really, to get my playtime, and so far, there's nothing planned for him, and so personally, I just don't see a future here. Number 7 is Blackbeard. Now, I want to keep this one short and sweet. I cannot stand moving around the map as Blackbeard with the shield rifle equipped. To me, it feels cumbersome, weighted, and tedious, and for how I like to try and get in and out of a position quickly on attack, it just doesn't work. Blackbeard is made to hold a certain area and make it difficult for defense to remove him, and that's why he's so successful on Windows. If you challenge him or peek him in that scenario, you're bound to be taken out because he automatically has the advantage with the rifle shield and has that second life where you don't. Maybe he's broken, maybe he's a niche pick, but just maybe he could be the best operator in Rainbow Six Siege because he's the only one who negates that golden rule of one-shot headshot, but he's not for me. Finally, at number 8, Glaz. Glaz is the only operator, minus shields, that does not have an automatic option in his loadout, and it really is a deal breaker for me. The OTS hits like a mule, and if you're able to get on with it, then Glaz can be menacing, and the fact that he can see through smoke and highlight enemies is definitely a benefit. But with how inconsistent his gadget can be, paired with the fact that he only has single-shot weapons, it just puts him at a disadvantage most of the time, and why I believe he's had one of the lowest pick rates in the game. Now, as someone who's played Rainbow Six Siege for this long, I've learned that there really is no reason to ever bring a Glaz. Most maps are medium to small, and the really big ones are usually crowded with rooms and hallways, and so having a dedicated sniper-style operator just doesn't work. At least with Kali, she has that SPS MG9 when she's clearing out the hallways, and it can hold its own in a pinch. Glaz really only has a pistol, unless you flip down your sight with the OTS, but again, against fully automatic weapons, you could be out before your second trigger pull, and is my lead reason for never using this operator. And so, there it is, guys. It should be noted that every operator in Rainbow Six Siege has a place, and these 8 could be your most used picks. But that's it for the video, guys. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe with notifications if you're new. I'm out.